Action is greater. No, action is greater than writing. A good man is a nobler object of contemplation than a great author. There are but two things worth living for: to do what is worthy of being written, and to write what is worthy of being read. H. Ross Perot.
From atop the battlements of Castle Curmudgeon, where we wish America a belated 249th birthday and extend to her our assurances that she is still just as hot as she was when she was 21, and where we hope you have had a wonderfully edifying Independence Day weekend in the greatest country on God's green earth. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. Welcome to the Blast Radius. So good of you to join us tonight. We've got a very exciting, very action-packed program in store for you. In fact, you may not be able to walk for 2 or 3 days when we're done with this one, but first, here is your Golden Age of Western Civilization news roundup for the week ending July 4th, 2025. Dateline Hogwarts, Monday, 30 June. A British LGBT activist by the name of Stephen Ireland, who made it his life's mission over the past several years to destroy Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling because she just doesn't sparkly heart transgenderism enough, has just been sentenced to 30 years in prison for child rape, which comes as a real shock for me personally because here I always thought LGBT activists were such a morally upstanding group of people, and why wouldn't I think that, since they are always proactively informing us that it's they, not us, who occupy the moral high ground, at least when they're not busy buggering 14-year-old boys. And since Ms. Rowling is more than entitled to dunk on this disgusting, repugnant rat bastard son of a bitch, let's read a passage from her public statement. Quote, Stephen Ireland, who targeted me with endless abuse on Twitter because I opposed the chemical castration of children and the removal of protected spaces for women and girls, has just been sentenced to 30 years in jail for child rape. End quote. And frankly, if I was her, I think I would have dunked a hell of a lot harder than that, but then I am not a classy British lady, and she is. Mr. Ireland, who is the founder of the Pride in Surrey gay advocacy group, and how fitting that I should be wearing a Surrey Cricket Club cap at this very moment when I said that. Did I plan that? I did not, but I should have. He was arrested earlier this year along with his former partner and co-defendant David Sutton and charged with raping the adolescent male child in their shared apartment in April of 2024. Because it's like they always say, why rape a child alone when you can rape a child with a friend? And yes, I'm saying the word rape. I'm saying it lots of times because we call things what they are on this program. And as we know, YouTube really doesn't like the word rape. If you say the word rape too much, they banhammer you to the farthest reaches of the banhammer sphere. So you hear a lot of YouTubers using roundabout euphemisms like SA and other such things. Now, will this reporter ever do that? He will not. Rape is quite an horrific thing. And when we couch it in euphemism in order to satisfy the whims of some dumb algorithm, all we do is minimize that horror that never ought to be minimized. And the consequences be damned, whatever they are. Dateline Sacramento, Tuesday, 1 July. If you've lived in California longer than 5 minutes, you don't need me to tell you that the 1st of July has become sort of an unofficial state holiday. Or maybe holiday isn't the most fitting descriptor. In any event, July 1st is the day when every year, everything in California suddenly starts costing 5 to 10% more than it did yesterday because July 1st is the day when all the new tax increases come into effect. So, while the rest of the country was celebrating the lowest Independence Day gasoline prices in at least half a decade, we Californians got to say, yay, $5 a gallon. Again. And yes, that's the best case scenario, obviously. If you're in LA or Frisco or San Diego, where they pile on bullshit local taxes in addition to the bullshit state taxes, you're probably going to be looking at closer to $6 or $6.50. And if there's a remarkable thing about this yearly ritual that's been going on pretty much since the start of this century, it is that so many people continue to be surprised by it every year, and they also steadfastly refuse to contemplate that their own voting behavior might have something to do with the increased cost of living that they dislike so much. I had someone, I won't name any names, but I had someone come up on me last week, just delighted that the price of gas had dropped all the way to $3.80 a gallon. So I said, well, you know, that's all going away on Tuesday, right? And he looked at me like I was speaking Swahili, like that just doesn't compute. Like, how could that ever be? Well, it's because low information dimwits like yourself go out every election and you vote for every school bond, every healthcare bond, every infrastructure bond, every stupid tobacco tax and liquor tax and sugar tax, every bullshit climate change boondoggle, every stupid bullet train that nobody wants or needs. And just like clockwork, every July 1st, you react with shock and dismay that everything all of a sudden costs more than it used to. To which the obvious response is, well, then why did you vote for all those things, you dumb son of a bitch? Well, they said it was for the children. What was I supposed to do? I will tell you exactly what you're supposed to do. Please never, ever vote again. Self-deportation isn't just for illegal aliens, you know. We also need dumb, credulous fools to self-deport off the voter rolls. Until such time as we can agree that universal suffrage probably was not the best idea in the history of the world, and voter literacy tests probably weren't the worst. Dateline New York City, Wednesday, 2 July. Has there ever been a more inept party leader in the history of Congress than Hakeem Jeffries? It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the present entry. I'm just wondering out loud because normally, when a party gets its ass kicked in an election as badly as the Democrats did last November, their first move is to swap out their congressional party leaders. But here we are in July of 2025, and Jeffries and crying Chuck Schumer appear to have amazingly, somehow, ironclad job security. And that was a really fun stunt that Hakeem pulled this week earlier when he tried to use the House version of the filibuster to stand there and speak for 7 or 8 hours straight in the hopes of preventing passage of the so-called big, beautiful bill. And by the time he had finished, the bill actually had more yes votes than it did before. So very well done indeed, sir. So very fine bit of political strategy there, Hakeem. And between your half-asleep eyes and your droning, halting, monotonous delivery, I cannot imagine how half of your caucus was dead asleep within an hour of your speech beginning and they kept having to be shaken awake by their staffers, because that's totally not a very embarrassing look at all. In fact, it's really quite dignified. But that's not even the most embarrassing thing that Hakeem Jeffries did this week. So you know this kid Zoran Mamdani? who just won the Democrat primary for mayor of New York City, solely on the strength of the fact that his only opponent was Governor Nipple Rings? Sorry, former Governor Nipple Rings? Because what a great conundrum it must have been for New York City's Democrat voters this year. You've got a choice between a guy who murdered your parents in their nursing home and a guy who directly quotes Karl Marx when he is asked to describe his political outlook. And he says it with a straight face that he's not a communist. And you know who else says he is not a communist? Your friend and mine, Mr. Hakeem Jeffries, says that, the human bottle of NyQuil. Here's what Hakeem said on Twitter, wherein he said, quote, "Stop lying about Assemblyman Zoran Mamdani. He is neither a communist nor a lunatic." I feel like if you have to say that, he's probably not a lunatic. Anyway, and New York City doesn't want to be saved by a wannabe king. Besides, you are too busy destroying America with your one big ugly bill to do anything else, end quote. And it sounds like that harangue was directed at President Trump, but he never bothered saying so I guess it's anybody's guess. But in any event, that settles the whole controversy. The guy who directly quotes Karl Marx, the guy who wants the government to control the food supply, the guy who wants to seize private property and turn it into communes, his word, not mine, is not a communist. Even though he makes Bernie Sanders look like goddamn Barry Goldwater. Why? Because Hakeem said so, damn it. So best of luck in those midterms, guys. I am sure it is going to go just great. Dateline Mars, Thursday, 3 July. You remember a few years ago when Elon Musk was a low-information Joe Biden voter who enjoyed smoking joints on the Joe Rogan show? And then he gets red-pilled and becomes a crusader against government bloat and corruption and loses all of his leftist friends? And then he has a falling out with Trump and loses all of his conservative friends. Seems like he's got no friends left, but that guy says he is starting a brand new political party. Who he think his base is at that point? Well, that's unclear. And how impossibly naive is he still about the realities of American politics? He thinks his brand new America party is going to take, I'm not making this up, 2 to 3 Senate seats and 8 to 10 House seats in next year's midterms. Which, how is one supposed to even respond to such a delusional boast as that, except to pat the guy on the head and say, "Oh, sweet summer child." Because look, Elon, I know you're the richest man in the world, and as the richest man in the world, you are accustomed to being able to buy whatever you want. But if you think you can launch a new third party and immediately start winning congressional seats, I'm sorry, but only an ignorant fool would think that. That's just not how any of this works. Would it be nice if it did? Hell yes, it would be nice, but it doesn't, so it's not. We've had the same two parties for 160 years. You cannot undo that in 5 minutes, irrespective of how much money you have. Ross Perot in 1992, he was the one exception in our living memory. He actually had a real chance to win the presidency that year, but then, for reasons that are still unclear, he dropped out of the race and then dropped back in at the last minute and still, improbably, managed to pull 19% of the national popular vote. Even after that, he had a good movement and a lot of people behind him. And how did he ruin it? By trying to make the movement into a party. And you can't make a viable party from the top down anyway. That's just not how this works. It has to originate at ground level or it will never amount to anything. And besides, if you're a guy like Elon Musk, you're at your best when you are imagining the distant future and using your skills and your vision to help us get there sooner. You have nothing whatever to gain by attempting to wade into the morass of current day politics. That is not where you belong. And if you care about your reputation and your legacy, which I know you do, that's the worst way of securing them. Nobody will ever raise statues in your memory, either on Earth or on Mars, if you spend up all your personal political capital sullying yourself in that arena that is beneath you. Also, maybe don't take ketamine every day. Just a thought. Dateline Los Angeles, Friday, 4 July. In a story that provides the perfect upside-down exclamation point to the story of the Enchilada Intifada of 2025, several municipalities in suburban LA County canceled their Independence Day celebrations in a fit of childish pique this week. But as we know, childish pique is never the fault of the childish piquers. It is the fault of the bad orange man, or if you prefer, El Malo Naranja. The city of Bell Gardens said in a statement, quote, "Out of an abundance of caution regarding concerns for resident safety over federal immigration enforcement activities, the city of Bell Gardens will be canceling the scheduled events between June 24th, 2025 and July 10th, 2025, including the movie nights on June 26th and July 10th, as well as the Independence Day celebration, end quote. Which is weird, because Bell Gardens just had a big Cinco de Mayo party scarcely 8 weeks ago. They had a big pride parade scarcely 4 weeks ago. There were no reports of resident safety being impacted by any federal immigration enforcement activities because, nothing endangers the local populace like arresting drug dealers and child molesters. It's a real nightmare, I tell you. If I was a cynical man, I might suspect these Bell Gardens assholes are just canceling the 4th of July because they hate Trump and they hate America. There was also an ultimately unsuccessful effort to cancel 4th of July celebrations in the city of Los Angeles itself, with LA councilwoman Isabel Jurado saying, quote, "Events in public spaces feel dangerous for our constituents, and this is not the time to host large public gatherings because people are afraid," end quote. Which is the exact same thing they said during the China virus, which I am sure is just an incredible coincidence. Although, you can't help noticing that all the rioters and arsonists in LA and in Portland and elsewhere are still being very conscientious about wearing their COVID masks and stopping the spread. So it's good to know these young people care so deeply about public health while they are trying to burn people alive in their workplaces. And speaking of burning people alive in their workplaces, here's a man who's never done that, at least not to my knowledge. He's a man who requires no introduction, but he makes me give him one anyway. He is my distinguished colleague, your illustrious co-host, a man with more notches in his bedpost than Rudolph Valentino and Wilt Chamberlain put together, the one and only, your friend and mine, Mr. Caucasian Sasquatch.
Tactical nuke incoming!
Got the best bullshit in the business. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Blast Radius. Tonight, I'm going to go off about Conan. I'm probably going to bitch a little bit about Star Wars. I'm probably going to have something to say about this channel that I found over here that's doing some AI work that I think I need Captain Curmudgeon's opinion on. I sent it to him earlier. I hope he's already seen it. If not, we're going to watch it together, and I'm going to laugh my ass off the whole way through it because it's funnier each time I watch it. Happy 4th of July, everybody. It is belated, but I can't help that. We're doing the little sparkly things over here. I think I'm glitching the fuck out too, but Cap, what is going on, my brother? How was your week? You freeze?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm getting some stuff too. You kind of glitched up about halfway.
Yeah, it looks like I'm just going to be having issues. I don't know what the source of them is, but yeah, I've been getting rings of death spinning around. I'm glad I got through the roundup. The roundup went all right, didn't it?
All except for one point, about halfway through it, you kind of froze up for a second, roboted for a second, and then it went back to being a little glitchy, but fine. You'll probably have to.
And I got nothing. It looks like neither of us are on.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm gonna roll over here into the peen grease video. If you want to do whatever you can do with that and get back with us, we'll see how that flies. So until further ado,
I've tried everything I can think of already. I'm just
just
gonna
write
have
it.
to deal with.
It'll be great, I'm sure. So I have found a channel over here. The name of this channel is not peen. Well, no, it's not peen grease. It's Madman Morvant, right? I'm gonna pop his little link over here. No, that's not right. It's not the one I want. I want this one. I'm going to pop his little link over here in the private chat. We'll drop it at the end of the video. Douche. Save that right there. We'll get back to the rest of it. Now, homie's got 107 subscribers. I'm not sure where he found this, but it's one of the greatest things I've seen in the past 6 weeks. It's even
He's
better.
not lying.
It's even better than the copyright trap that H3 set up. That shit was bomb. This is actually the natural progression of leftist politics carried to its absurd conclusion. I give you.
And it's also why AI is freaking awesome.
Yeah, we'll discuss that in a little bit.
bean grease. We are ashamed of mankind's history of colonialism and are therefore committed to returning stolen lands to their rightful native populations. In fact, just last year, we began the process of reuniting this South American city with the displaced Ainawana tribe, which was unfairly driven away only a handful of decades ago. We began the process by removing all symbols of colonial oppression in order to restore the area to its pure, untainted state, free from the shackles of tyranny. We then collected the proud Ainawana from their desperate situation and proudly presented them with their rightful heritage. Unfortunately, the celebration was short-lived. You see, our historical expert discovered that the Ainawana had themselves stolen this land from the Waino-Levi in a bloody tribal war over 1,000 years ago. Further research revealed the ancient burial site where the slaughtered people of the Waino-Levi tribe were placed. The solution was obvious. We excavated the ancient grave site and had our necromancy expert reanimate the lifeless Waino-Levi corpses to inhabit their once stolen land.
All right, so this is where this starts getting a little complicated, you see. Unfortunately, the celebrations were short-lived.
Fortunately, the celebration was short-lived. You see, our archaeological expert made a startling discovery beneath the burial dig. The original inhabitants of this region were not the Waino-Levi either. In fact, they weren't human at all. The solution was obvious. We had our de-extinction expert engineer DNA from the remains we had found and reintroduce the true native population to its stolen land.
All right. So let's recap for everybody in the audience, like those in the cheap seats back there. We took some land from some people, just random people, knocked down all of modern technology and left it a scorched wasteland, and then went and kidnapped a bunch of people who were in casinos and living a wealthy lifestyle, probably in America, if I had to guess, and took them to this place and turned them loose. And then in the process of doing that, we discovered that there was another tribe there before. And so we got our necromancers to raise the fucking dead to occupy the lands while not doing anything about the oppressive people that had been put on the land occupied before. But in the process of that, we find out the dinosaurs were there before all the rest of them. So we bring back dinosaurs. Now, it surely cannot get worse than this. And yet I see there's almost half of the video left.
Indeed. And this is all about ultimately the folly of going down the daisy chain of playing the stolen land game, because you wind up in some pretty ridiculous places if you play it long enough.
It's the geese, man. I blame the geese. Peace was never an option.
Unfortunately, the celebration was short-lived. You see, while hiding in a deep cave during the November raptor attack, our occultism experts unearthed this ancient text, the Necronomicon Ex Mortis. From its blood-inked pages, we discovered that the one and true original inhabitant of this land was none other than Cthulhu himself. The solution was obvious. Our linguistic expert recited the mystic dark passages from the flesh-bound Book of the Dead, summoning the ancient unspeakable evil to reclaim its rightful heritage. Bean Grease. Righting the world's wrongs until we get it right.
All right, folks, I absolutely love that tidbit. That was great. I went and dug up a couple of other little ditties for us to take a look at because that's the kind of pimp I am. We've got some Sticks and Hammer going off on Mamdani. The rise of Mamdani is the death of the Democrats, says Sticks and Hammer. Or we have funny animated shorts to make you smile. Can I get a 1 in chat? Because we're going to do this one first.
A werewolf. Chill out, dude. I'm just waiting in line like you.
We got to get it right, though, because it's not correct until it is. Hopefully, Cap will be able to join us again here in a little bit because you know how good that California power grid works.
A werewolf. Chill out, dude. I'm just waiting in line like you. Phew. I thought you were going to turn me into a werewolf. What's wrong with being a werewolf? Oh, nothing. I'm sorry. You don't deserve to be a werewolf. You should get bitten by something lame like a zombie or a vampire. Oh, look at me. I drink blood and leave the bodies to rot. Such a waste of meat. Learn to enjoy the... What? Why do you keep making that face? You'll never make me talk.
There's a vampire right behind you. Oh, one of these things are fucking hilarious.
Do your worst. You heard him, boys. Take him to Billy the Kid. Wow, my wife got us tickets to the Space Wizards concert.
Wait a second. Hold on. Billy the Kid's not a nice guy.
Wow, my wife got us tickets to the Space Wizards concert. Sorry to brag, but my wife is amazing too. That pizza looks amazing. I wish I was eating it right now. What? How dare you? But I was just... Never speak that way about my pizza wife again.
I wonder how many toppings she's got. No, wait. Does she have like the filled crust? Is this like that guy who was dating his AI? What's up, Ben? Welcome in, bro. We have Nigel Betts in the chat. Only Mr. Bill has joined the chat. How you doing, bud? The reparations. I don't think anybody willing to use the Necronomicon is worried about any such thing. Personally, Nigel, good to see you. Ajot, she came in. Grayson showed up. Kissy May, good to see you. ATL News, and of course, I'm kind of worried about Scotty Waddles because he hadn't showed up yet. And that's starting to make me a little nervous. That ain't usually a thing. Mr. Super Sidewinder, good to see you, bud. Appreciate you coming through. Everything's fixing to glitch out for me too, and I'm going to continue going as long as I can because my whole screen just went black.
Well, no monsters under the bed or in the closet today. Okay, my work here is done. Good night, sweetie. Good night. See, I told you they wouldn't look up. I was really worried for a moment there. Oh, you poor thing.
Oh, wow.
How is she
Here
recovering?
I am. Welcome in.
Oh, she's fine. She didn't have surgery or anything. That cone is a bark amplifier. We just really hate our neighbors.
That's evil. It's like somebody took Family Circus and turned it upside down. This person has issues.
To do than screw around on your phone all day? Nope. Would you like some Richard?
So he sat down with him. What's up, bud? Welcome back.
Thank you. Sorry for the disruptions.
Don't worry about it. We'll roll with it as well as we can. So you've seen the Ping Grease video, right?
Oh, yes, indeed. And I'm with you. It's the funniest thing I've seen in the last 6 weeks.
It is. It's up there with the Bigfoot shorts that's been dropping everywhere. It's hilarious, and I don't think it's going to get nearly the traction that the Bigfoot things are going to get because of the negative view it takes on the concept behind the whole video, right?
Well, or not necessarily negative, just realistic.
Try turning off your camera on the time of day. I get my best views when I'm frustrated. And he's completely frozen again.
Buttery topping on your popcorn? Yes, I love... Wait, did you just say popcorn? Yeah, the drought drove up corn
Welcome
prices,
back.
so we are...
You want to try that again?
I got no explanation. I don't even remember what I was in the middle of saying.
I like the absurdist conclusion that it comes to, you know. In fact, now that I think about it, I really need to send that to Sam, because he does that whole dark occult identity thing, you know. He's Samuel the Infamous, one of the dark beings of the outer abyss. Or at least that's what his avatar is. I just think he's into tentacle porn. That's just me.
We're using a potato starch popcorn simulation. Does it taste good? It doesn't need to. Its real purpose is delivering salt to balance out the artificial sweeteners in our soda drinks.
I do not like where this is going. I really don't. Because last time I heard the word soy dropped in something, it was people.
Hey man, can I come stay at your place tonight? Sure, what's the occasion? Well, my bed was stolen. Your bed? What, did you leave it out in your yard? No, it was in my house. With all my other stuff. Oh, look at these.
Damn.
I miss being a kid and getting a cute birthday cake. Yeah, we don't really eat cake as much as when we were kids. I guess birthday cakes are just something you grow out of. It's funny though. Now that we're adults, we can just buy a cake whenever we want. Oh no, what have you done? Why did you say those words out loud? This is too much power. We aren't ready for this kind of responsibility. Why are you opening a new bag of chips when you haven't finished?
It's too much power. No, I agree. It's like every time I walk by, there's that dozen donuts, right? Like, there's a lot of things in this world I can just walk away from. I walked away from smack myself. Donuts, though. We're going to have to come to some kind of conclusion on donuts where I get to have some. That is the only conclusion. Maybe a little coffee, too. Oh, now I got to go get some donuts and coffee.
Finish the first one? Oh, those are just crumbs. Okay, I'll throw it away then. No, don't throw it away. There's still crumbs in here. I need you to go up to your room right now and clean. Don't talk to me before I've had my coffee. You're 8 years
Yeah, I should take that philosophy. I should probably get some coffee, too.
old. You don't drink coffee. Exactly. Dang, the place is a wreck and your parents are coming to visit tomorrow. We should clean up, but not too much. Yeah, that would look suspicious. If the place is spotless, then they would obviously know that we
Welcome
live
in,
like slobs
Clean
and
Bird.
just
Mia,
cleaned
good
for
to see
them.
you, girl.
Gotta be
Appreciate
more
you coming
subtle.
through. Gotta be more subtle. Take it from disaster to...
Take it from a disaster to, oh, sorry, we haven't cleaned in a week. Hey, can you watch
Basically.
my stuff?
No, I've actually seen some guys have a conversation virtually identical to that. A couple of brothers are living together, and I come by visit one afternoon, and he realized that
And
their
there I
parents-
go, and I'm gone again.
Yeah, you're back now, and you're gone, and you're back. It's going to be great. We're just going to have tons of fun with this. I'm really enjoying the unknown part of all of this. Like, I never know when he's going to chime in because it's sort of a Russian roulette of sentences at this point. So I'm going to use it something like an improv theater, and when whatever gets through, I'm just going to act off of.
I'm going to try switching browsers. I've got nothing left to try. I can't hear shit, can't see shit. I'll try and be back.
All right, bud. Good luck. Hope it works out for you. Let's everybody put a one in chat for Captain Curmudgeon's connection. Apparently, it's left the building.
Stuff while I use the restroom? Sure, no problem. A few minutes later. I thought you said you'd watch my stuff. I did. I watched a boy take the laptop, a woman got your coat, And that dude with the cool beard put your phone in your coffee. Hey, Zoe, you've been in a good mood lately. Thank you. I think I'm finally getting enough sleep. I got in this bad habit of thinking about trivial things while falling asleep and then picking up my phone to look them up. Next thing I know, it's 3 a.m. and I'm reading the Wikipedia page for smooth endoplasmic reticulum.
Smooth endoplasmic reticulum. That is exactly the only reason to buy cakes when you're an adult. In fact, I've actually been trying to convince myself to buy an ice cream cake from Dairy Queen for about a month now. And I just can't ever think to do it when I'm actually over on that side of town. But I think everybody needs a Dairy Queen ice cream cake.
And I don't know why. Now I leave my phone in the kitchen and read an actual paper book in bed next to my wife. When our eyes get tired, we just turn out the lights and go to sleep. That's great. Luckily, I'm super lazy. The phone is in the same room as me, but the plug is just out of reach unless I sit up. I'm not giving these abs a workout for anything that trivial. What if it wasn't trivial? What if it was important? I'm sure it could wait until I woke up. But you won't remember when you wake up. Well, then it clearly wasn't that
All
important.
right, bud.
At
Appreciate you
least
coming
write it
through. Here I
down.
am.
Nah,
Time to
I
throw
don't need to
Carrie?
turn my idle thought.
Gary, welcome back, bud. Appreciate you coming through. I've found some really strange stuff. I'm just kind of sharing it until we get Cap worked out. Boy, he is on the other side of the universe tonight. New browser.
Now let's try audio only and see if that works.
All right, we can do that. That actually sounds great. Is a fat girl's aphrodisiac? I hear you, girl. All right. That's going to be my pickup line. I'm going to buy you a Dairy Queen ice cream cake, baby. Come home with me.
Thoughts into a homework assignment. I can't tell if I should be envious of your lack of anxiety or annoyed that nothing seems to matter to you. Plenty of things are important to me. Sleep is just higher up on the list. Robot, do you love me?
I am not programmed for love.
Can you pretend to love me?
I can make you fresh coffee.
I love you.
I'm satisfied. Are you satisfied? Fresh coffee? Personally, I think he's earned the love at that point. Gravy is drooling off her lips. What's up, batshit crazy? Crazy! Crazy! Is that how you say it? I feel like that's how you say it.
Please help me, my dog is lost. Oh no, where did you last see him? What do you mean? He's right here. I don't understand. I just don't know what I'm doing with my life. I mean, barking at squirrels is great, but is that it? Is that all there is to being a dog?
Kind of. I mean, you also got to sniff other dogs' butts and like bark at mailmen. That's kind of in the contract too, I suppose. Any thoughts? Good job.
Hey, I watched Star Twins. You did what? Star Twins, that TV series you were begging me to watch. I loved the banter and the romance and Headley the robot.
Ridiculous.
And episode 10 was incredible. And look, that was 6 years ago. We've all moved on to Dragon Force mysteries. Keep up. Sometimes.
Are you live over there? Are you going to make it? Yeah, total existential crisis. I mean, have you ever seen a dog? And I wonder about this. And this is actually something that kind of bothers me. When you're sitting there and you're doing whatever you're doing with your dog, and then he hears something weird, he cocks his head at a 45-degree angle. Is it more understandable at 45 degrees than it was vertical? Do you grasp more of it, Puppy? Because I find myself doing the same thing just because it's a very quick way to get a particular concept across. So, how did you say? You know.
Times it's hard to get through the day until you realize your friends will always be there for you. Message from P-Dog. Is it weird that I like the smell of my own farts?
I mean, I guess if you like the food that you ate, you might develop. That's probably a thought I don't need to go down.
Sometimes you realize you need to get new friends. Look, an adult bookstore. I wonder what that is. You really don't know? It's full of those thick books with the tiny words and no pictures. Super boring. That's what adults like. I thought it was a bookstore that finally moved out of the basement of its parents' bookstore. Oh, that makes more sense. Hey, boss, nice hat.
Oh, baby. It's idiocracy out here, and I love it.
What do you want? What? I was just complimenting your hat. Nobody likes this hat. That's not true. Oh, hey, I was wondering if I could get next Friday off? Now you've upset the hat. Lauren built that by herself.
Like a brain sucker.
Oof. And this is Robert. He's really into Pokemon cards now. So adorable. Any little ones in your life? Yeah, this is Harold, my robot vacuum. He cleaned this whole room.
Nice. Nice. That's great. Oh, that is good. That is good. That's exactly how I feel looking at other people's crotch goblins. I don't know, man. I don't care that little Timmy is finally working out his lisp. I'm not worried about little Dolly's freaking tap recital next year. I don't care that they're going to finals in the spring. None of this matters to me. I just asked for the fucking ketchup. Can I please pass the ketchup?
This is Gina, my quadcopter. She took that video of Harold. They fill my life with so much joy. Stephanie here is my coworker. You feed her coins and she poops candy.
I used to have a coworker like that. Her name was Jenny, but you didn't actually feed her the coins. You just put them in the cup and you just took the candy.
So, a little birdie told me you went to the cafe with Gregory last night. It's nothing serious. We're just friends. If you say so. Just remember to have fun. Okay, I will. Next, I'm going to tell your boss what you're doing on those long lunch breaks.
Yeah, I've been wondering why we're letting this fucking bird just fly around and blow all our goddamn secrets. I don't give a shit what that bird did. He needs to be put down and put down with extreme prejudice. Why aren't we swatting the little bird that's telling everybody? I mean, we just skip all those people and the drug dealers and all of the like freaking mind games that they play with each other and just go straight to the little fucking bird.
I want to know more about the long lunch breaks.
5 pounds
The
of
long lunch
untraceable
breaks. The long lunch breaks, yes, sir.
seed under the big maple tree by midnight. And no walnuts this time. I'm not a squirrel. Now, for your shoulder problem, I'm going to write a referral for you to see a specialist. Okay, cool. So just look up an orthopedic specialist in your area, make an appointment, and show them this. Sounds good. I'm never going to do this.
You gonna be all right?
No.
But on time. I'm going to have a much better day at work tomorrow. I'll be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I wonder where the phrase bright-eyed and bushy-tailed originated. Look, the first 2 wishes ruined my life and nearly killed me. Let's just skip the last one. Oh, I promise I won't trick you this time. Fine, let's just keep it simple, like, make me a cup of coffee.
Poof. You're a cup of coffee. Because dad jokes.
I always preferred to wake up bushy-eyed and bright-tailed.
Well, I mean, if you're into that kind of thing, bro, but the tail always made a problem for me.
Well, nice talking, but it looks like you have a lot of work to do today. Yep, they like to keep me busy around here. Shame, I was going to invite you to lunch with us, but, Oh, sure, I'd love to go. Oh, do you even have time to leave the office? Oh, I finish my work by 10 a.m. I just leave my desk like this or they give me more assignments. Your dog. Actually, I don't have any.
Hold on, wait a second. Hold on. I think we're going to invite you to lunch, but
Oh, sure.
I'd love to go.
Oh, do you even have time to leave the office?
Oh, I finish my work by 10 a.m. I just leave my desk like this or they give me more assignments.
That's genius, dude.
Yes.
That is.
If I have a bunch of shit on my desk, it means don't bother me because I'm very, very busy and don't give me more stuff to do.
And it works.
Yeah. Works like a charm.
I used to work a job where I was doing like inventory receivings and the whole shipping thing, billions of freaking numbers, all kinds of different codes and all kinds of crap, right? And I realized one day that I could go through and take a picture of the order forms and stuff that I had to process, take them back and process them. And as long as I didn't move that piece of paper until like 3:30, 4 o'clock, they wouldn't put no more papers in there. But if I just process those things straight through, more and more papers would show up, and directly somebody would start chewing somebody out for overbooking stuff, right?
You can see I've got something on my front burner right here. You can't be inundating me with more tasks right now. I mean, what kind of a barbarian are you?
Right. So I'd show up in the morning, grab 2 of the order forms, take pictures of the rest of them, go process everything, probably, like you said, before 10:30, and then sit there, smoke cigarettes, and read the funnies.
Yeah.
That's where we were, bro. Like, the thing is, and the reason I did this, and this sounds like quiet quitting or something, but in reality, the system was set up to process at a certain speed, and if you attempted to process more, the factory itself couldn't process those actual orders. And so you'd end up with back orders that are dated too far back, probably end up making product that somebody's not willing to pay for. The idea is to get it out of like 72 hours, right? You get an order 72 hours later, it's on the way to your freaking house to get installed, Yeah.
Oh, sorry, she must smell your dog.
Actually, I don't have any pets.
You just smell like a dog's butt.
That shit hit him where it counted, bro.
You know what? That reminds me of an astronomy anecdote, which I'm hesitant to start because I'm afraid like I'll freeze up in the middle of the first sentence. But maybe I'll just start it anyway. It was the thing about the dog sense of smell that got me thinking about the astronomer Avi Loeb, who is probably the closest thing we have to a Carl Sagan in the current day. Some people think he's a crank. He's not a crank. He just likes to think outside the box a little bit. I heard him on John Michael Gaudier's show one time, and they were talking about how extraterrestrial intelligences might interact with our intelligence on this planet, and they might not find the same things impressive about us that we find impressive about ourselves. And the example he used, he says, when I'm out walking my dog around the block and she stops and spends 5 seconds sniffing a bush that some other dog had just pissed on, she can gain more information just smelling in those 5 seconds than I would be. In order to gain the information that she just gained from the 5 seconds of sniffing, I would have to take a culture of the urine and take it to the lab and study it for days or weeks. And so who's to say that the aliens wouldn't find the dog's ability to assimilate information in an olfactory way more impressive than anything we human beings can do? And I thought that was a really fascinating point.
I think they'll be more impressed by the fact that we have carnivores for pets. I think that might be a very unique circumstance in the universe. If there happens to be other life out there, I don't see another series of circumstances that results in a culture that is so gloated and luxurious that we keep carnivores, not just one. We don't have just one species. We have a few species of carnivores we keep as pets. And I think
there's multiple species of animals with which we have formed partnerships.
Yeah, sure.
Horses, dogs, cats, cattle. You can go right down
Absolutely.
the line.
Well, and it's kind of funny that we do make a distinction between the concepts of pets and herd animals, but ultimately it comes down to the same sort of domestication techniques that are utilized in social programming today.
Sure.
Either the AI or the government or a combination of corporate interest and government and AI are attempting to domesticate us, be ungovernable.
And just for one example, imagine how much differently human history might look just without the horse. Because for many hundreds and thousands of years, the fastest that it was possible to transmit people or objects or information was the speed of a galloping horse. And
Right.
our next best option is not anywhere near as fast as the speed of a
I think
galloping horse. Go
You
ahead.
can see that future in the Native American histories, North and South America, right?
Yeah, that's not a bad call.
The horse. They failed to develop the horse. They did not fail to develop the wheel. And they even invented something very similar to a stirrup to use with llamas. But they never got on them and rode away that we are aware of. They were used for pack, and that was it. All of the roads we find everywhere are utilizable by people walking and llamas. So,
Right. And interestingly, some of those tribes, as soon as they had access to horses, they made, really advantageous use of them almost right away. Other tribes still wanted no part of horses. We don't want to ride on those big scary beasts, and it's just, for their own reasons. It's interesting how all that stuff happens.
There's another layer to that, though, because the horses also made it possible to bring raw materials and goods from much farther away than your average pack animal. Or, and I mean, when you say no horses, you're also talking about no donkeys.
Any kind of draft animal, really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, ox and whatnot, but and oxen are effective at moving stuff, but not quickly. And so information being the most valuable material moved by such things, you see the Pony Express wasn't riding zebras.
Yeah, and as far as the wagon trains that made the journey out west, oxen were preferred to horses for your draft animals just because, they are quite a bit slower, but they are more durable and require less maintenance, so that's probably why they were generally preferred.
And God, awful strong compared to a horse.
Oh, God, yeah. Yep.
We'll use 6 horses to replace 2 oxen.
Oh, yeah, easily. Yep. Yeah, the horse gives you speed, but not necessarily, extraordinary pulling power.
Right. And so I think that a world without the horse would be probably backed up by a couple of thousand years, right?
Yep,
Because
that's sort of my inclination too. At least a millennium, I'm thinking.
It's not until you get things like canal travel and that type of development that you would be able to move the type of resources that are necessary to move. Oxen still exist, and ox trains have been a thing forever, but they just don't, like I said, they have the continuity, but not the speed. So eventually it would happen. It's just the horses make it happen a lot quicker. The information travels faster, the material travels faster, the whole thing.
And for a certain length of time, even after you had canals and river-based commerce and so forth, before in the years between that and when they came up with the steam engine, then you've got barges on the canals that are being pulled by horses or oxen up there on the bank.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the best horses were that's kind of where we get our horse pulling and like tractor pulls and stuff like that.
Yep.
My horse could beat your horse at ... insert competition here.
Yep. I can rope that calf quicker than you can rope him, you son of a bitch.
We got a stupid story in our family. I have no idea as to the veracity of this story, but
Those are the best kind.
it's some great uncle was born in Tug Creek. I think it's West Virginia. Might be Kentucky. Can't remember which side of it.
Sounds like a place that would be in West Virginia.
Yeah, Tug Creek, West Virginia. And he left there when he was 17 and went to England and became a horse groomer and sometime jockey, but mostly he just took care of the horses. And in the process of all of this, he got the papers. He managed to win something, some kind of how, and he got a full-blown thoroughbred shipped back to America back in the days when that wasn't done. And this was all done because of some shady-ass bets that he won or something. And in the process of shipping it, it was put in the hold with a bunch of jennies and jackasses. and
That'll do it.
and and that horse died on the transit, but some mixture in there was able to breed, and he got to keep the progeny of a donkey and a thoroughbred horse. And I have no idea as to the veracity of this story. I repeat this, but the story goes that he would challenge anybody to a race against any horse anywhere riding his jackass.
World's
And-
fastest jackass.
The world's only racing jackass, the thoroughbred jackass that I'm aware of.
That's a nice claim to fame. I like that.
I have, like I said, it's probably complete and total bullshit, but it is primo grade A golden bullshit.
Well, I don't know, but then again, don't most bullshit stories originate from a kernel of truth? There's got to be a kernel of truth in there somewhere.
Maybe so. I don't know. I know that if it's coming out of Tug Creek, it's at least 150 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to look up Tug Creek just because I like the name so much.
All right, so I got some just sticks and hammer going off over here.
Oh,
You you listened to his most recent little rant about Mamdani?
Yes, and just FYI, it says here that Tug Creek is in Alexandria, Kentucky.
That makes sense. Tug Creek's down. Never mind. Kentucky. Gotcha.
I used to look like that. Maybe not the hat.
Yeah, I was wondering about the hat. I want one of those hats, but I want it in tinfoil. Like legitimate, like lead line tinfoil, like old school.
That shirt I would wear right now, though.
Right? I can pimp that. No problem. Andrew Langlois, welcome in. Appreciate you coming through, bud.
Yep, welcome.
All right, are we going to listen to this, or can we just pick on the fact that he's wearing 2 sets of glasses?
all right, everyone.
Oh, let's listen to it.
Okay.
Talk about Mamdani, of course. Yes, in New York, actually. The Democrats should have gone with Cuomo. And this is something that I say very, very reluctantly because I am no fan of Andrew Cuomo, although he seems to have regained some semblance of sanity over the last couple
Nah.
Mamdani, meanwhile, is
I'm sorry. I think that man should be brought up on charges of war crimes. Or something along those lines. Humanitarian.
I mean, you would have to search long and hard through the annals of American history to find any act of gubernatorial incompetence that cost more innocent lives than that one did. I will stand behind that statement until the day they throw dirt on me.
directly from a governor. I got nothing, man.
And and right from the get-go, even people on his own side thought it was inexplicable. Like, why in God's name would you do that? Why would you send people back in to be among the most vulnerable populations when they've got the thing, and make a law that they have to be sent back in when they've got the thing? I mean, if you were intentionally trying to wipe out a good portion of your senior citizen population, wouldn't you do exactly the same thing he did?
Yes.
Mr. Tinfoil Hat.
I just, for the protection of the channel, satire people. We're a little too close to the nose sometimes. The tinfoil hat says, don't lose fucking shit. I don't know. You
I
started,
know our content is so edgy.
right? Well, I mean, you did start the show saying rape 37 times.
It's true.
So, I mean, where do we go from there, DeBerry? I mean, you're not leaving much room between here and the ceiling.
Sometimes it's fun just to piss off the algorithm for the sake of pissing off the algorithm.
I don't care, man. Like, I've lost every subscriber I've gained in the past, 2 months, 3 months. I'll gain 150, 200, and then lose 150, 200.
I find it annoying and off-putting when people use euphemistic terms like SA, like I was talking about in the roundup.
Yeah.
I just, say the word or don't say the word. Yeah, come on, man.
I mean, I get it. I get it, but it's not so much YouTube terms of service as it is the ad friendliness of things
Yeah,
that
for sure.
they're concerned with. So,
Yep.
I mean, do what you will with it. It's to each his own on that one. I just want to be perfectly clear. We are on YouTube. We are not on the American Street Corner. There is no free speech on YouTube. If YouTube deuces one of your comments, I'm not going to show it because I don't know why they deuced it. I can't help that.
Yeah, there's sometimes not any obvious explanation that presents itself. So what do you do?
Well, I used to have a philosophy of trying to show all the comments I could, but I realized at some point in time, I don't know when it sunk into my head, but I realized that those removed comments is YouTube's stick and your paycheck is YouTube's carrot, right?
Oh, yeah.
So if you don't pay attention to the stick, you're probably not going to get as many carrots, you know? So it's at least worthwhile to pay attention to the stick.
And that is how you can enforce speech codes without having actual speech codes.
Without actually having speech codes. Exactly.
Is a democratic socialist, which means a communist, basically. It's basically a watered down term for a commie. That's what he is. The Democrats have decided to generally side with him. Schumer, Sanders, and AOC have all come out in support of him. And the primary is ongoing. We're going to see what happens with that. We're not 100% sure. As long as it remains a packed field, he probably wins. This is a terrible idea. Now, can he win the primary? Yes, of course. Can he win the general election? Yeah, I mean, he's the Democratic candidate. So, you know, in New York City, who else are you going to vote for? He'll win.
There you go, right there. That is one of the most.
I just want to say, I think it was really nice of Val Kilmer to give this guy his sunglasses from Top Gun in his will. That was a very magnanimous act.
Right? I thought they buried him
because those are straight up Iceman shades right there, dude.
They are Iceman shades. Sheesh, bro. That's a pair. My dog is chewing on my freaking desk, bro.
It's called a bone.
What a terrible idea for the Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party will effectively be erasing their federal platform in favor of, they're doing sort of what the GOP has done for decades. They'll be erasing their federal platform for a state level platform. For example, let's put the shoe on the other foot. Let's say that you have somebody who has been politically successful in Wyoming or someplace like that, someplace that is deeply red, so it's heavily Republican. And you try to extrapolate that to a federal platform. It does not work. The GOP has tried this multiple times, by the way. And you look at Mitt Romney, for an example. There's a reason
they've tried it with neocons, but a true grassroots effort will work that way, but you can't astroturf it and have it have effect because you don't get the people.
And aside from which, every single policy proposal that I have heard from this young man, Mamdani, is a non-starter because it's wildly illegal in the first place. Like not even remotely constitutionally adjacent. You can't do any of this shit. You can't have the city government control the food supply. What the hell are you talking about?
Literally operating the grocery stores.
Yes, you can't go and seize private property because you want to build communes. And I love that he actually uses the word communes, which is a strange word to use if you're pretending not to be a communist, but you want to build communes. I'm just saying.
It is odd. Strange choice of language.
Indeed.
He's in politics, let's just put it that way. The Democrats are now trying to do the same thing. The kind of platform that you get in New York City or San Francisco or Portland or someplace like that does not represent the average person in the United States. Certainly not in red states, and also not in the swing states. It doesn't work. but they appear to be trying to create this weird platform. It's not even clear at this point that my prediction will even be correct. What I had said is that if the Democrats were smart, and they're not, but if they were, what they would do is they would get a dark horse candidate, like a
you'd go and pick somebody that's not too dirty, somebody that
The only guy they have who could win is Fetterman.
God.
I said it there. I said it. I really think it too.
I hadn't even thought about it, but you're right. But then again, if he swapped Republican tomorrow, he'd probably win the same exact districts.
Yeah, he's in terms of his positions and the thing he says, he is much more closely aligned to the Republicans than he is to his own party. He seems to spend much of his time saying that the people in his own party are full of shit, which is a good approach for him to be taking if he wants to, become one day potentially an electable presidential candidate. It's a much smarter approach than any of the rest of them are taking. I can tell you that.
Not wrong, bro. See, I thought Gavin Newsom was going to take that approach when he started his podcast up, and he went the way he went with it at first. I just knew we were fixing to have an absolute freaking debacle on our hands, because if he threw his hands up in the air and went full right-wing MAGA or right-wing anti-MAGA, right?
Yeah.
That would destroy us in the midterms, and it wouldn't destroy us in midterms, but it would destroy us for the next presidential election, because it would split the vote between all the new Democrats that have just come on board to the GOP versus the ones that left the Democratic Party. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people just left and don't vote anymore. They've given up on the system.
Yeah, and that happens far more often than people switching from one major party to the other major party. That's not very commonplace at all, I don't think.
What's actually really impressive about this past election was how much of the non-voting middle ground Donald Trump picked up to win the mandate that he's got, right?
And I think a lot of people still don't even realize that between a quarter and a third of the electorate is unaffiliated with either the Republicans or the Democrats. They are either minor party or declined to state, or just unaffiliated in general. And it's even the people in our fake news media don't even seem to understand that pretty well sometimes, because they always talk as if there is this dichotomy between Republicans and Democrats and everybody has to be one or the other. And I understand that makes for a more convenient narrative to vomit out on television, but it's also ignorant bullshit.
It also allows you to other a group and paint half the country as that group without any effort.
And that's what they really enjoy doing ultimately.
That's
most
what
of all
they really enjoy doing. Yes. In fact, that's the whole point of that mechanism, as far as I can see. It's no longer news. News happens to be a part of what they do, but the message is far more important than what's going on today.
It's the pro wrestling version of news, like I always say.
You're not wrong. It feels very
a person who was uninitiated to pro wrestling might turn it on and think it was a legitimate sporting contest, because it does its best to pretend that it is. And I think cable news in the third decade of the 21st century is much the same now. Because it has all the external accoutrements that we associate with news. People think it is news when it's really just performance art.
This is exactly what I'm talking about right here. This type of stuff. It wasn't just Amish. There were people all over. There were hobos who registered for the first time in 50 years. Don't have an address, but got a birth certificate. And that says a lot. When you got folks coming down out of the hills to come vote, you've done something. You've accomplished a thing. I don't believe Democrats have a whole lot of people up in the hills, do they?
Well, and this is the largest scale instance of that phenomenon since Reagan in 1980, because a similar thing happened there. Yep.
Exactly. I was talking to some people earlier today on a panel, and the conversation turned to when the last time this level of support was given to a particular candidate, and they everybody's lukewarm. They were like Obama, and I was like a Republican candidate. And it was like Reagan, obviously.
Yeah,
obviously.
And we had the phenomenon of Reagan Democrats. There was a hell of a lot of Reagan Democrats. There were Reagan Democrats who were in Congress.
right?
And
Well, I
they
mean,
they proudly wore the label of Reagan Democrats. They were, I like this guy better than I like my own party, so get over it. And they were able to do that.
he rolled out of a Republican California that was the death of Republican California. Like, right as soon as he walked out of that office, that was pretty much the end of the Republican Party. It went uniparty almost immediately afterwards. What was it, like 15 years later?
Well, yeah, and you know what? Because you remember how it went with Nixon. He loses to Kennedy, allegedly, in 1960. And then 1962, he runs for governor of California and loses. And it's, obviously everybody thinks it's the political death of Nixon. And it really also should have been the death of any Republican California governor having a chance at the presidency. But they underestimated Ronald Reagan a little bit, didn't they?
I mean, I think they underestimated how many men looked up to him because he was a public figure long before he became a politician. And that's a hard wrecking ball to fight.
Yes, and a powerfully effective communicator who had already built up, as you mentioned, a lot of public trust over the years because as an actor, he played a lot of characters who were noteworthy, praiseworthy historical figures.
He turned down villain roles.
Yeah, when you're an actor and you become associated with roles like that, then some of it rubs off on you. And he co-opted that into building his own political image, and he did it absolutely brilliantly, better than anybody ever has, except, with the exception of Trump, possibly. But there's a lot of that framework that is the same as far as spending lots and lots of years building a certain kind of public profile and then co-opting that into political success electorally. And
right, it's almost identical to how Reagan did it, with a tiny bit of difference. The fact that, and it makes sense that Trump pulled it off from New York. I don't know that you could pull that off from
absolutely right.
You coming out of California, you have this chance if you've got the public. I mean, Reagan was a household name. You would have been hard pressed to find anybody who wouldn't be able to point at a picture of Reagan and go, "That's Ronnie Reagan." Right there. He played so and so.
There was absolutely nobody in the country who had never seen one of his pictures.
Right.
Because he wasn't in a lot of,
and you take
high profile pictures, but he was, as far as, reliable. I don't want to call him a B movie actor. A lot of people call him a B movie actor, but that's not quite right. It was more A- movies than B movies, strictly speaking.
No, they were legit movies. They just didn't blockbust. That's all.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, look, and Donald Trump's pulled a similar sort of Texas two-step by doing WCW, lots of public events, loads of public philanthropy, and an unbelievable amount of private philanthropy that nobody ever.
And then the public profile he was able to build through the vehicle of reality television was much like the public profile that Reagan was able to build through A-B+ movie roles. And then it
is sort of oppositional in a fashion because you've got the sort of laid back SoCo kind of approach from Reagan trickle down economics method, right? To the, on fucking ball, quick to the minute, fast talking New York, urbanite. They're similar, but not the same. There's distinct, almost identical footwork involved and groundwork involved, but distinctly different personalities, characters, and methods of governing.
Yes. And Trump, being a guy who is from New York City, he is a practitioner, as all people from New York City are, of New York overstatement. Yeah, you know how New York overstatement works. People from New York don't talk about things in half measures. If you're a New Yorker and you just went someplace for lunch and it was not the best lunch in the world, you won't say, "Oh, it's not the best lunch in the world." You would say, "Worst lunch ever, absolute disaster, hated it, fucking terrible." That's just the way New Yorkers talk about things. But Donald Trump is the only New Yorker who talks that way, and then his critics say that all of his utterances have to be taken at 100% serious face value, which is not the way you take things that are said by New Yorkers, and everybody knows that. And stop being so goddamn dishonest.
Exactly. Buddy Lorenzo, does that desk taste that good, bro?
I think it must.
He's been barking at me constantly for the past 3 hours. I've walked him a dozen times. I don't know what's gotten into him, but he stopped barking at me and started chewing on the flat side of my desk. He's not doing it any damage. I guess maybe somebody spilled a drink or something. I don't know. I don't remember. I should probably watch that.
Or he's just craving your attention that much.
I just wonder how much of it's transferring through the freaking microphone because he's chewing on my desk.
Yeah, I don't hear nothing.
Okay, cool. So I'll just let it go.
Yeah, just let it go. If he's happy, I'm happy.
As long as he ain't barking in my face. I was going to
Seriously.
Some tater chips. This dog will do Chinese math for tater chips, dude. I'm not even joking. This dude had solved world hunger and cured cancer for tater chips.
Oh, speaking of China, did you hear the stupid thing that the head of NATO said today?
What it is?
He is warning us that because, since he's a bureaucrat doing what bureaucrats do, I didn't get the budget I wanted, so therefore China and Russia are going to ally with each other and start World War III and dominate the entire globe. Look, dude, I'm sorry you didn't get the budget you wanted, but maybe don't jump into the hyperbole deep end immediately, because look, I'm sorry. I know it was a great line that you thought you came up with, and you're trying to scaremonger and fearmonger and make everybody afraid so you get more money. But here's the reality. Since the Sino-Soviet split of 1964, Russia and China have never been allies. Even when they were both communist, they don't have any interests that are aligned with one another, and neither one of them has ever won a battle on the high seas. So, yeah, call me when they're going to get together and start World War III, because I think I want to fight that war, because I think they're going to get their ass kicked. And what a stupid thing for the head of NATO to say. When the head of NATO says something that goddamn stupid, it makes me want to abolish NATO even more than I already did, and that's really saying something.
Right. No, I think I'm not sure NATO should be a thing. I don't know. I used to think it did good things, and maybe it used to do good things. I don't know. In recent memory, I can't think of a single thing that NATO has done that I approved of. Just off the top of my head, nothing.
And if they hadn't engaged in this relentless expansionism over the last 15 or 20 years, I think I would have a more favorable view of NATO. But as an American, I don't like having us be in a treaty posture where if Serbia invades Macedonia, we are bound by treaty to be at war with Serbia. And I say fuck that. Why does Macedonia need to be in NATO? Is Macedonia anywhere near the North Atlantic? It is not. Nearly all of the nations that are in NATO now are nowhere near the North Atlantic, so maybe change the name and it'll be less ridiculously preposterous at this point, because the North Atlantic doesn't really seem to have much to do with it.
Not anymore. Not anymore. And really, I think I've been thinking on it a little bit, and it feels like what is it called? The PAC, the Pacific Asian Commerce Treaty, or whatever it is.
Oh, yeah. And
remember what a CPAC, APAC, something like that.
Yeah, it's one of those. I know what you're talking about.
Anyway, that seems to me to have been set up specifically as an antithesis to the North American NATO. And BRIC also another feature of the same kind of globalist system.
Oh yeah, BRICS, yeah, definitely an attempt at a parallel organization.
Right.
But good luck with that, China. I mean, China has still got entire brand new cities standing empty with no people in them. So you've got fairly serious problems when you're a country like that, and it makes me take less seriously your ability to project military power around the globe, especially in light of the fact that your nation has never won a battle on the high seas. I know I belabor that point, but I think it's worthy of being belabored.
It bears mentioning and possibly repeating a few times. And it's something that a lot of landlocked nations just don't really consider. But there's one more layer to that issue, and it's air power.
Naturally.
That's really where the war gets won first, right? If you can't win the air, you will not hold the ground to a local force. It can't be done. You know?
But the idea that we're supposed to be paralyzed with fear just because China rolled out a new aircraft carrier is nonsense, and people should stop doing that. Just because somebody builds a thing doesn't mean you need to be afraid of it. Just because somebody has a lot of ostensible manpower in their army doesn't mean you need to be afraid of it. You know why? Because you remember 22 years ago when we were invading Iraq the second time, and they told us what a tough fight we were going to have with the Republican Guard and the Iraqi army because, hey, they've got the number 4 largest land army on the face of the earth, so this isn't going to be any kind of cakewalk. 6 days later, we're in Baghdad. So there you go.
I thought it was 8, but yeah.
Yeah, it might have been 8.
About right, yeah. There's there's also another kind of thing here in that it's all flex. You know it's flex. And it makes me wonder if China's being upfront BS about so much that we're able to find out, like you said, about the standing empty cities and whatnot. And the fact that if people actually lived in those cities, it would just be a raging inferno of house fires and bad wiring, collapsing buildings and bad concrete. You know, these are projects that are being put on specifically to pay the Chinese workers so that they can say that they have their UBI type income and everything's hunky-dory, but you're building more projects than you have to occupy.
Yes, and this is what happened when they attempted to dip their toe into the pool of capitalism while also retaining all the features of communism that they happen to like. And look what a clusterfuck it wound up being. Because you can't just do things that way. You can't have two systems operating within the same system at once. It tends not to work out because the two systems work in diametric opposition to one another because they seek to achieve entirely different things. So you wind up with entire brand new cities with nobody living in them because you go ahead.
I have a slightly different conclusion that I've come to, and it is cyclical. The governmental structure behind the human race, at least since the late 17th, 18th century, late 18th century, has been going more publicly funded, publicly democratic, less monarchy, more voting. Whether or not it's legitimate or not, it's debatable. But it seems to cycle through cycles of like rampant democracy that collapses into communism, that collapses into a rampant full-on crony capitalism that rolls back into laissez-faire socialism, into communism, and so on and so forth. And I think all three of these systems are bulwarking each other's bottom line. When it comes down to it, you have to have completely uncontrolled capitalism to fund the socialist measures that turn into a communist dictatorship.
Yeah, and you've heard me say before multiple times that I think there's a strong chance that the political story of the 21st century is going to be, to some extent, a drift away from the nation state and toward monarchical restorations in certain countries and regions. I feel pretty strongly like some version of that is going to happen. And the other thing that works in big decade or century-long cycles is the size of nation states and the size of empires. I mean, look at the map of Europe on the eve of the First World War, and there's only 4 or 5 countries there. There's the Ottoman Empire, there's the Austro-Hungarian Empire, there's the German Empire, and then there's France and Spain, and that's pretty much it. And you fast forward to the end of the 20th century, and where before you had 5, 6, 7 countries, now you've got 30. And there's bound to be a fluctuation back and forth between the small number and the little number across the decades and the centuries, because there always is. There are cycles between political systems. There are cycles between sizes of political units, and it all fluctuates across time. And nothing is ever going to stay exactly the same as it is right in this moment, because it never does, because that's just not the way that human affairs work.
That's pretty much the only thing that's promised is things will change. And typically entropy leads them to change for the worse for a short period before that worse turns into better.
They will change, and they will change in ways that nobody foresees or predicts. And I think, again, the First World War is an outstanding example of that. Because lots of people thought there was going to be some kind of a European conflagration at some point in that decade. They probably weren't guessing that it was going to result from a Bosnian Serb assassinating an Austrian Archduke in Sarajevo. That's like the last flashpoint that anybody ever would have guessed, and that wound up being the flashpoint.
I was talking to a bunch of guys on a panel a couple of weeks ago, and I have no idea where this occurred, but they were discussing whether or not Ferdinand was the actual trigger, that it's been attributed to being the trigger, and that it was the spark that set off World War II and all of that. But was there something else that happened in the similar time frame that might have also, or may have been the actual trigger? And they brought forth all kinds of stuff that I can't remember now. And one of them brought up the sinking of the Titanic, bro. Like, bro. I was like, bro, that's why I keep this around, is for guys like this, man. I swear to God. Like, you gotta have it.
It's a bigger can of worms than you thought you were opening up, wasn't it?
Oh, dude. That wasn't even the weirdest one. I mean, I know that's crazier than shithouse rap, but like, there were some guys that were bringing out some fairly strange things. Like, one dude went off of like some of the Black Sox stuff, and I can't remember the connection at all, but it sounded like some gematria bullshit, like a symptom.
He was connecting the Black Sox to the Titanic?
The mafia that were involved in doing the whole Black Sox thing having something to do with the Titanic sinking because of some group of people that were on the Titanic, or were supposed to be on the Titanic. Something. I don't know, dude. I don't know. I couldn't follow it. Like I said, you talk like one of those gematria guys.
I know some people think that I shave too often with Occam's razor. However, sometimes you just ran into a fucking iceberg and the ship sank.
Right? Exactly. Exactly, bro. Shit happens. Life sucks. You deal with it. There was fucking room on that door for Jack, damn it.
Yeah. And a lot of people who think they have some Titanic conspiracy theory all figured out really don't even have the most basic understanding of why the loss of life wound up being so horrific, and why the ship was regarded as being unsinkable, quote unquote. It wasn't thought of as being unsinkable. That was never the point. The point of having the bulkheads and the watertight compartments was so that she would stay afloat long enough for the people to be ferried to another ship that had come to your ship's rescue. That's the way the thing was supposed to work. It was never contemplated that we would have to put everybody on the ship in the lifeboats all at once. The lifeboats were going to be ferrying people from the stricken vessel to the healthy vessel that was rescuing them. And, sometimes unforeseen circumstances present themselves, and they did this time, and it was a set of circumstances that nobody ever envisaged, but that's how we learn things in life. And sometimes, it takes horrific loss of life in order to learn the lessons, but we learn them. And look at how safe ocean travel is today, largely because of Titanic.
Because of Titanic. There's been huge leaps, not only in shipbuilding and safety, but also in lifeboat management, methods of lifeboats, types of lifeboats, dude. Like, there's been huge innovation in safety across the board.
There have been few singular incidents or disasters in all of history that have resulted in more learning and advancement and improvements in safety.
And saved lives just outright. You can't count them.
Absolutely.
But they're there. It's about time to do that thing that you do so good.
Yeah. Seems like we've only been here for 5 minutes. I do apologize profusely for whatever those problems were that I was having in the first portion of the show, but they seem to have cleared themselves up. So here I am saying thank you very much indeed for joining us this evening. We sure do appreciate it when you spend part of your Sunday night with us doing this thing we do. Please stay tuned next week, same time, same channels, same ruggedly handsome men leading you through intellectually erudite expeditions into the deepest corners of your mind. I'm going to do some stuff this week. He's going to do some stuff this week. Watch all of it. Meet us back here next Sunday night. Until then, we will see you next time. Do not comply. Get off my lawn.
I'll say, boy, get off my lawn.
We interrupt this program for an important news announcement.